What's up, guys? It's Lefty here, and I'm back with another installment of the educational series on different baseball metrics. In the first video of this series, we covered pitching velocity and combining it with walk rate or base on balls per nine. If you haven't checked out that, I'll try to post a link in the top right corner if I can figure out how to do that exactly. We're going to be sticking with pitching, and the reason why I wanted to start off with pitching is because it's common for sports bettors to make bets based on opinions related to the starting pitching. Um, and remember, if you watched the first video on velocity, I also discussed how you should want to look towards betting first five or first halves of baseball games if your analysis of a game is based largely on starting pitching, which again is very common amongst recreational bettors, and it's totally fine if that's your approach. But the purpose behind doing these series of videos here is to get you familiar with some of the more advanced stats. A lot of the basic stats you see in standard player profiles or box scores for pitchers will only give you a general idea of how well a pitcher has performed, and there's also some stats that are really vague and even can be misleading. For example, wins and losses for a pitcher. It might be good for Cy Young votes, but wins and losses is an awful way to evaluate a pitcher's ability, mainly because those results are so heavily dependent on things outside of the pitcher's control, like how well his team is hitting or putting up runs. ERA is another stat that also factors in, a bunch of things that are out of the pitcher's control. ERA, or earned run average, will show the average runs allowed while a pitcher is on the mound. But a pitcher's ERA numbers can be skewed based on the defense behind him. A batted ball in play has a lot to do with the defense and, how good or bad they are. It doesn't make much sense for a pitcher stat to involve factors that aren't 100% in his control. Should a pitcher's performance be downgraded because his shortstop has no range? Or, say the center fielder has such a weak arm that base runners always go first to third on him. Really, the same thing can be said for WHIP too. WHIP is another common pitching stat. It stands for walks, hits divided by innings pitched. WHIP will show how often batters get on base, but again, this stat has other factors involved outside of the pitcher's control. I still like WHIP. Is a good stat, but my point is there are better ones that can give you better predictive value. After all, we're using this info to make bets, so and also, I should note there are some good basic stats that are very helpful, like Ks per nine, walks per nine. Those are stats that are clearly in the pitcher's control, and but the ones I'm highlighting in these videos are what I believe to be the best for evaluating a pitcher's performance or future performances. Like I said, we covered velocity in the first one, and in this one, we're going to be discussing FIP or xFIP. FIP stands for Fielding Independent Pitching, and what it does is it measures pitching separate from the defense. Without getting into the formulas exactly, I'm going to just try to simplify it the best way I can. FIP takes into account 5 factors that are in the pitcher's control. It takes into account home runs, walks, hit by pitches, strikeouts, and innings pitched. Now, those 5 stats are used because they don't really involve any outside influence or luck. Now, technically, home runs are influenced by hitters' ability, so there is a variation of FIP, and it's called xFIP or expected FIP. And what that does is it removes home runs and replaces it with number of fly balls a pitcher allows multiplied by league average of home runs to fly ball ratio. By doing this, what's cool is it eliminates weather and ballpark as factors, which can skew results. For years, pitchers in Colorado playing in altitude always had below average numbers because of where they played, but FIP will cut out those variables. This is what makes FIP and xFIP such a great stat. It eliminates literally everything outside of the pitcher's control, and it really cuts down to his core performance. This all may seem confusing, but really xFIP is simplified because you can apply it the same way you would ERA. The lower the better, because it's formulated using the league average ERA rather than individual player numbers, so it's on the same exact scale as ERA would be. I want to take a look at some of the xFIP leaders right now, and it's easy to make a case they're basically the most dominant pitchers in the game. If we take a look at, let's see here, I think this is the xFIP. Yeah. So we got xFIP over here in the right column. And yeah, Burns, I mean, he's one of the hottest pitchers right now. Musgrove, he's already got a no-hitter. He's going to be low in xFIP. And it's cool to kind of compare the ERA to it too, because remember, xFIP is, taking out the defense, same with FIP, but xFIP is basically just removing the home runs and replacing it with fly ball percentage. This is the site Fangraphs again, but take a look at next time you're breaking down pitching matchups, go to Fangraphs, take a look at FIP and xFIP rather than just basing it on ERA, and you can kind of see some of the differences in ERA. Like Giolito here, he's got an ERA close to 6, but removing fielding, it's lower, and his expected FIP too is even lower. So really, he's not getting much help by his defense behind him, and he might start getting a little undervalued because of his ERA. But if we look at FIP, we can kind of tell that maybe his performances are he's still pitching well. He's just getting bad breaks with defense or, unlucky really. So this is why FIP and xFIP are so valuable. It can kind of cut right to pitching performances. I'm going to stop here. Next video, we'll continue on with different advanced pitching metrics. And then after that series, I'll go on to hitting. And hope this information is helpful and can help you guys kind of advance your baseball research and breaking down matchups. Until next time, you can catch me in the community. It's free to join. The link to join is always in the description. And till next time, good luck. See you next time.